Hello, it's Mel, MegaMel, and Jay from Fort Collins. Jay's my son-in-law these days. Got married this summer to my daughter Tracy, who's doing the filming today. We're out here in Colorado, and we had about an inch of snow last night. It's a beautiful day. It's only about 45 degrees, but it almost feels like a nice spring day. It doesn't feel cold. We got the good sunshine from Colorado, blue skies, wonderful. What we're going to talk today is chainsaw maintenance, tree pruning. I don't know much about either one, but Jay does. So what we're going to do is tell you a few things, like you're going to run a chainsaw, get your safety glasses on. Put those babies on. Jay's got some glasses, so he probably doesn't need to wear them. We're just going to do a little chainsaw cutting, but get your safety glasses on. How about some earplugs? Put your earplugs in, especially if you got a noisy chainsaw. Use your earplugs. And then last, maybe not last, get you some gloves when you're running a chainsaw. Now, if you're doing serious forestry work, get the chainsaw pants. Those might save you from having a new leg. So I'd highly recommend that if you're going to do some serious forestry work like we do down in Beulah in some of my YouTubes. You'll see that. So here's a chainsaw. It happens to be a steel. That's my favorite brand of chainsaw. It's the steel. And if you have a chainsaw, you want to make sure you got your bar oil filled up. Most new chainsaws have a bar oiler, so fill up your bar oil. Don't think it's just maintenance free. Put the bar oil in there. Put your 2-stroke gasoline oil mix into your fuel tank. Then here's your brake. Almost every modern chainsaw has a chain brake, so you might leave that chain brake in place, although you can release that if you're having trouble starting it. In addition to the chain brake, you want to adjust your chain, and Jay will talk about chain sharpening. Also, you want a little slack in that chain, but not any more than you really need. Just a little slack so it's not in tension. The bar oiler will oil the chain, but you don't want that thing dragging and have it tight and get hot. There's some fuel adjustments. There's 3 adjustments on this chainsaw: a low speed, idle speed, a low speed mixture, and a high speed mixture. Your manual will tell about those, but generally a fairly new saw is not going to need some adjustments. But if you need to, you can always adjust mixtures and that. Inside this box is an air cleaner. Keep it clean. Keep the dirt out of there. Talking about keeping clean, inside the chain drive back here at the sprocket can fill up with sawdust. Keep that clean because that's going to hinder the oiling of the chain. So periodically take this apart, take the sawdust out, and clean it up. Now, if you're trying to start a chainsaw, and this is a small one, pretty easy, you have 4 positions on this one: choke, full choke, half choke, run, and off. So when you're ready to start one, put it in full choke, don't touch the throttle, get it secure, full choke. Oh, it's not running. Maybe it's flooded. I'm going to go to half choke. Don't touch the throttle. Maybe it's still flooded. We go to on. Give it full throttle. I can smell gas. Anytime you have a 2-stroke engine, especially a 2-stroke, but any engine, if you think it's flooded, you got nothing to lose by going full throttle to see if it's flooded. It will clean out and start up like that just did. Go ahead, Jay, talk about the chain sharpening and anything else you can think of.
Okay, like Mel said, Steel's a great brand of chainsaw. Husqvarna, any of the new saws are really good saws. The biggest thing you want to make sure is that you have a service dealer close by. You need a new bar, new chain, you want to be able to get it. You don't have to wait 2 weeks to cut down your tree.
Exactly.
So that's the biggest thing. That being said, you can sharpen chains yourself. You can bring them into your dealer to have them sharpened. There's files, there's bench sharpeners, all kinds of sharpeners. I kind of like the file. This is what a file looks like without this little guide on it. I tend to sharpen just with this. Some people like to put a guide on it.
Yeah, don't forget though, he's an expert. For you people at home, you might want the guide.
Takes a lot of practice to get used to this, but you can do it. you wreck a lot of chains that way. This has some angles on it for different pitch chains. Smaller chains sometimes use a higher angle on the tooth for just for the cutting purposes. They don't have a lot of power, they can't turn a big chip. So I'll put this on just to show you guys. just clips
how
on.
the guide works.
It just clips on your file like
Yep.
that.
And there's lines on there. You probably can't see that in the video, but you got various lines with different angles.
So it has 10, 25, 30, and 35 degrees. And this is for a 5/32 file. Different chains use different size files. Make sure you ask your guy or girl at the parts counter which one you need.
Exactly.
So, when you sharpen a chain, what you want to do is do one side at a time. Get every tooth going one way, and then switch and go the other way. You want to cut from the inside out. So you want the highest part of the angle to the outside. And so, also,
you're finding away from the cutting edge, in other words.
That's right.
Away from the cutting edge.
You're going up the tooth, in other words.
Up the tooth, yeah.
So what you want to do, when you're filing, try to keep your file level. Don't file like this. Don't file down.
You're perpendicular with the bar.
It'll cut all screwy. And all you want to do, unless you've been running in some rocks or dirt or anything like that, you shouldn't have to take more than 3, 4, 5 strokes.
Yep, don't overfile it.
Move on to the next one. And you can put this brake on to hold it.
Brake will hold the chain from sliding on you. On a bigger saw, you can sit on the saw and work.
That's right. So I'll do a few that way. I'll switch hands.
Yep.
And then I'll go back.
Oh man, Jay, that's a beautiful thing to work with. I like that. I like what he's doing on that thing. That's cool. Now we're going to talk about tree pruning in just a minute here.
Okay. I'm not going to sharpen the whole chain. It's in pretty good shape.
We've already gone over it.
Yeah. I think our saw's ready. Ready to go?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, before we fire up the saw, we want to talk about tree pruning, and Jay's had a lot of experience in this, so he said he would help me with this. Let's talk about what we would do with the pruner versus what we would do with the saw, and what are the basics of tree pruning.
Okay. Obviously, a tree this size, you don't need to saw for much unless you're doing some big cuts. These pruners, even little hand pruners, work just fine for most of these small things. The rule of thumb for pruning is 30%. Never take more than 30%
Come on in a little bit.
of the tree. If you do that, it won't make enough food with the leaves that it has left, and your tree might die. 30% every year or two. Make sure your tree's healthy. Do it in the spring or in the fall, and you'll be just fine. Or in the winter, it's fine too. Okay, so in here, if you come in close, you can see some of these. The first thing you want to look for is dead. This is obviously dead. It's dry, it breaks. You want to go through. First thing you want to cut out is all your dead stuff. So I'll just trim a few of these out.
Yeah, Jay, eventually I want this tree to go up and out. I don't want a lot of branches down low. So maybe not this year, but should I be cutting these lower branches at some point, or don't worry about that?
We could cut these off today, but since we're going to take some of this big stuff out of the top, we don't want to do that. We want to leave, like I said, about 60%.
Next year, maybe I can cut a few on the bottom.
Next year will be fine.
Okay.
So go through and take all your dead out. See what you have to work with after that. Also, you can see right here, this is called codominance. There's two stems growing together.
Yep.
What will happen down the road, we'll get a good snow, and this tree will split right here. And then you're left with no tree. So what you want is one dominant leader or main stem. Obviously, this one goes straight up. We would pick this one, except it's had some damage over here. Something hit it, or maybe a deer chewed on it 2 years ago. It's hard to tell. So what we're going to do is cut this one out and leave this one on the left for the main stem.
That's going to be our main trunk.
Eventually, the space will fill in. It'll be just fine.
What about this joint you were talking about, where like you're making cuts?
This is called a branch collar. You can see the line coming down there. Also, this is a good one to look at here.
Oh yeah.
When you make a cut, you want to stay just to the outside of that branch collar. You don't want to cut right tight to the trunk, because the tree will never be able to heal. This is where the tree heals. So you want to be on the left side, kind of, as close to as you can without taking out that branch collar.
Yep.
So what we're going to do with this one, since it's kind of weird, we're going to cut it at a slight angle, and just call it good.
Get that off. And we want to make an outside cut to keep bark from peeling.
That's right. See, on a bigger branch like this, it's potential, if you just start a cut in the front, that branch could fall and peel the bark right down the side. You're going to have a big injury, big scar there. So what we'll do is we'll make what's called a back cut, and then cut it from the front, and it'll just cut right clean off, and we'll be good.
I'm going to put the chain brake on before I hand it over to Jay. All right.
Keep the chain.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm going to make what's called a 3-point cut here. 1 in the back, 2 is across, the third one is going to be the finished cut.
Okay.
I think this little stub doesn't weigh very much. It won't peel. It won't split. It won't do anything.
Good idea.
If you have a big limb, do a 3-point cut, and it'll save you a lot of headaches.
All right. Nice. All right.
Well, we can go through and clean up any more little dead stuff, and next year we'll come back. See how it's doing.
I think it's a take. It's a cut. It's a MegaMel and Jay YouTube.